This is a story about Blossom, who was such an awesome possum. You know why? Because she had awesome adventures. She had awesome adventures because she was a brave little possum, and she always looked for the good things that were happening around her. Well, one day, as Blossom was walking through the woods, she heard a scruffing noise, a huffing noise. She looked up ahead and she saw her friend April the bear. April the bear was digging around in the ground under a tree. And Blossom came up and said, "Hello, April." April looked over. "Oh, Blossom, what are you doing here?" "I'm just out looking around, maybe finding something to eat." April said, "Well, you've come to the right place, because there's something really delicious here to eat." "Really? What is it?" said April. "Let me show you." "What is it?" said Blossom. And April said, "Let me show you." She sniffed around. Pretty soon, she found a small, brown, round something that was soft and squishy. "Take a sniff of this," said April. And Blossom took a sniff of it. Wow, it smelled kind of sweet. April said, "It has some big seeds in the middle of it, but it's really tasty." It was about the size of a ping pong ball or golf ball, not very big, only about that big around. And Blossom took a little nibble, and the skin was a little tough, but pretty sweet. "Oh, bite through that skin," said April. So Blossom took a big bite. Ooh, the inside was gooey and sweet. It was a persimmon tree. April didn't know the name of it, and Blossom didn't know the name of it. They just knew there were these sweet things on the ground. Well, Blossom thought she would look for another one. She looked and looked. She found one. Problem is, April had been there for an hour already, and April has a big appetite. She ate almost all of them. And Blossom didn't know where she could find another one. She wondered if there might be some still in the tree. So she looked up in the tree, and she saw there was one. She said, "I'm going to climb up the tree and get that persimmon." So she started climbing up, and she was about halfway up, and April said, "Let me shake the tree, see if it'll come down." Blossom was just about to say, "Wait a minute, wait till I come off." But April grabbed that tree, and she's a mighty big bear. She gave it a good shake. Blossom hung on tight. It was all she could do not to get shaken out of the tree herself. And that persimmon that she was aiming at fell down and hit April the bear on the head, and April turned around and gobbled it up that quick. Blossom thought, if I'm going to find any, I'm just going to have to go a little higher and not tell April about it. So Blossom said, "I'm just going to look around for some more up here." "I'm going to look around for some more down here." Well, Blossom looked and looked, and she wasn't finding any. She climbed a little higher. She wasn't finding any. She climbed a little higher, and she realized she climbed higher than she ever had before. And she was getting a little bit worried about it. But when she looked up, she saw one more persimmon way at the top. She thought, I'm going to try and get that last fruit. So she climbed a little higher. She climbed a little higher. She climbed a little higher. Finally, she was high enough to get that last fruit, but she was up so high that the wind was blowing the tree and it was swaying back and forth, and it was just a tiny little limb. She finally reached it. This one wasn't brown yet. It was still a little bit green. And she said, I got the last one. April said, oh, that's the last one? Oh, dear. Blossom thought, I better eat it fast before April shakes this tree. So she took a big bite of it. She discovered something. When persimmons are still green, they are really, really bitter and taste bad. They make your mouth go, oh, puckered up. So she took a big bite of it and said, oh, boy, this one was awful. And she dropped it to the ground. April saw where it fell, and April didn't believe Blossom. She just thought Blossom's being a picky eater. So she just gobbled the whole thing up. And April discovered the green ones are not at all like the brown ones. Ooh, it was bad. Oh boy, I need to go wash out my mouth. April started going down to the stream, and Blossom thought, well, how am I supposed to get down from here? She thought about how to climb down, but she couldn't see how to turn around, and she couldn't see any limbs. She was just up there hanging on, and it was swaying in the wind, and she didn't know what she should do. She called out, help, can somebody help me? Help, can somebody help me? She looked up in the air and she saw there was a eagle flying around. She thought, ooh, I don't want that kind of help because eagles can eat possums. So she didn't want to cry out anymore. Pretty soon, she heard April coming back up the hill. She said, April, can you help me? April looked up and saw Blossom hanging on the very top branch and thought, oh dear, how can I help her? April thought, I'll climb up and help you. Bears are pretty good climbers too, but bears are really heavy. But April was a good friend, so she started climbing up the tree. And the higher she got, the more the tree was swaying and bending back and forth. And April climbed up higher, and that tree just started bending over and bending over. And April was getting closer to the ground. Blossom was getting closer to the ground as the tree was bending over. And Blossom said, that's good, April, just a little bit further. Well, April was kind of nervous about this tree, and as it was hanging over, April was hanging upside down too. And suddenly, April lost her grip and fell to the ground. When April let go of the tree, you know what happened? Boing! It went back up straight, and Blossom went flying. She had never been flying before. Oh no, she said. She went flying across the hillside, and she landed in a big bush. Ouch, ouch, the bush had thorns on it too. It was kind of stickery. Ouch, ouch, ouch. April said, where are you, Blossom? Where are you? Did I kill you? No, I'm stuck in the bush, said Blossom. April came over. Bears don't mind thorns so much because they have that very thick fur. So April got into the bush and just pushed her way in, and she said to Blossom, "Climb on my back." So Blossom climbed up on her back, and April pushed her way backwards out of the bush with Blossom riding on her back. And Blossom said, "That was awesome! I was flying like a bird." "Did you get hurt?" said April. "Well, it hurt a little bit, but it was still awesome to be flying. I don't want to do it again, but thank you for letting me take my first flying lesson." That night, as they headed back to their homes, Blossom thought how great it was to have a friend like April. She thought, life is sure a lot more fun when you can share it with good friends. She climbed up her tree that night, and as she settled down for bed, she said a prayer thanking God for April and thanking God for a safe landing. She was very glad for the adventure that she had this day. Have a good night.